The XRP bull run has started, and within the next 48 hours, the market will release between 300 and 600 trillion dollars to the XRP ledger. This will happen overnight. We will immediately notice a spike in volume, which will lead to an increase in XRP. In fact, look at what we're looking at right now, right in front of you, where it has historically happened that XRP went from 25 cents to $3.09 in a matter of days. A similar thing happened back on October 26, 2024, when XRP was sitting at roughly 50 cents before it skyrocketed all the way up to 327. And since this time will be quite different, this is actually just the beginning of the enormous wave we are discussing. Trillions of dollars will be entering the XRP ledger this time, and due to the extremely limited quantity, the price may rise as much as $27.58. In yesterday's video, we demonstrated how exchanges in South Korea are actually selling and purchasing XRP at $50.17 at this very moment. In those nations, each XRP is actually worth $50 USD. Additionally, XRP was just around $2.15 here in America and Canada, but it is currently at $2.20, and we discussed how widespread adoption is to blame for this. For instance, all of the financial institutions in South Korea use XRP as a form of payment. Additionally, this is creating a huge demand for XRP, which forces the price to spike due to limited availability, forcing you to charge more for XRP. Similar to this, the price of a currency increases when there is excessive demand but insufficient supply. The same thing actually occurred in South Korea, and it's starting to happen in Japan as well, since the country is moving toward converting all of its financial institutions to utilize XRP. In fact, SBI Holdings, the biggest organization in Japan that controls the majority of the country's banks, declared that all Japanese banks would be using XRP by the end of 2025, which is less than 30 days away. Naturally, what will that accomplish? The cost will be comparable to what is really occurring in South Korea at the moment, which is that there will be a huge demand and a shortage of supply. As a result, the price per XRP will increase. For instance, in Japan, the price per XRP may reach $50 or $30, while in the United States it remains at $2.20. However, everything might change in the next 48 hours, and we're talking about a huge market unlock of over $654 trillion, which could cost roughly the same as what's currently taking place in South Korea and Japan. And the reason for this is that within the next 48 days, the real estate, real-world asset, and payment award industries will all start to flow into the XRP ledger. And you can get all of this information here. This is in the public domain, but it's a lot of research. Imagine, therefore, how much XRP will cost in the next 48 hours as a result of this. At this point, we want to emphasize that you should watch this video through to the finish if you own any XRP at all, because we will be disclosing information that you have never heard of before. Additionally, there is information indicating that if you own XRP during the next 48 hours, it will be worth millions of dollars. It sounds absurd. However, that is precisely what one expert, referred to as East Mini, emphasized. 10 XRP will eventually be worth $10 million, which translates to a price of $1 million each XRP. And no, I'm not insane, but just look at this and briefly comprehend what's going to be said. RealFi is a multi-million-dollar payment reward system that enables you to purchase real estate. They just revealed that they have developed a project on the XRP ledger, utilizing the XRP ledger entirely, and that real estate can now be purchased. We are discussing properties worth millions of dollars, including commercial residential real estate that can be paid for directly using the XRP ledger. This indicates that XRP is currently gaining the widespread acceptance that its inventors, such as Xrp stressed. It must be used by 10 billion people. At that point, XP will reach its intended price of $10,000. Now let's take a moment to speak about the $654 trillion market that RealFi is going to start to develop over the course of the next 48 hours. This is now taking place directly on the XRP ledger and is utilizing the Realtech project, which is unique to the XRP ledger. The real tech is now very optimistic. This should obviously go hand in hand if you own XRP. This should be placed next to your XRP backpack because it has the potential to turn you into a multimillionaire. We are discussing actual tokens that are based on the XRP ledger, which have the potential to facilitate trillions of dollars and solve a multi-trillion-dollar issue. And in reality, every transaction that takes place is burning XRP. For instance, if you decide to utilize the real token, you will inevitably have to burn some of your XRP, which would reduce the amount of XRP available and increase demand for the real token. It's a win-win scenario. In essence, you will observe that X40 hours, both XRP and real token, saw a supply shock as a result of the enormous 650 trillion market unlocking, which first went straight into XRP and then straight into real token. Furthermore, real token might reach over $60,000 from 3 cents, whereas XRP might reach $40–50. And it sounds crazy, but pay close attention. The supply of real token is extremely limited, with a maximum of $1 billion. This indicates that not all of the supply is in circulation. Thus, I estimate that there is currently around $100 million in circulation. Thus, if you simply observe what is going to occur, the price of the real token would rise from 0.03 to $65,000 if 1% of the $650 trillion market actually invested in it due to its extremely limited availability. This is the reality, even though it's crazy. For instance, you can immediately notice the impact if you look at it right now. For instance, genuine tokens might realistically move from 0.03 to $60 to $70 if someone were to purchase $10,000 worth of them right now. If one person invested $10,000 in real token, the price may soar into the tens of dollars, giving you a 10, 20, or 30x profit. Imagine that now on a larger scale. You are now discussing real token's daily transaction volume of roughly $100,000. At that point, real token's price would soar to perhaps hundreds of dollars. Imagine it on a much larger scale, since we are now discussing a gigantic centralized exchange listing for real token on December 5th within the next 48 hours. That would genuinely result in a daily transaction volume of more than $5 billion, giving real tokens the chance to be entered. $5 billion at this time. Consider a daily transaction volume of $5 billion for the actual token. How much would an actual token cost? Of course, it might be in the tens of thousands or even in the thousands. However, you must realize that the current situation is unavoidable. Most significantly, it is extremely distinctive. We will never witness something like this insanity that might earn you hundreds, not thousands, of dollars per 3 cents, with each genuine token worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, where $1,000 may earn you $1 million. This doesn't occur. It has actually happened to Bitcoin, which is worth $20,000. You now have another exceptional opportunity that is exactly the same. Particularly when you consider, for instance, each and every real-world asset project, such as a real token, that lowers our reliance on centralized exchange. Its market capitalization increases to approximately $100 billion, which, in the case of a real token, would equate to tens of thousands of dollars. This is where I'll end the video. Please remember to share, subscribe, like, and comment on this video. Peace, and I'll see you later. And I'll see.